Welcome back to the GSMC Hockey Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Garrison McDaniel, going into our third segment of the night talking about the NHL Mock Draft Part 3 here. But before we get into that, as always, if you would like to become a bigger part of the show, help support the GSMC Sports Podcast, GSMC Sports Network creators a little bit more than you guys already do just by watching the show, commenting. It does help a lot. But you could also leave a tips and donation if you are enjoying the show. It does go a long way. Helps out all of these guys, all of us here at the GSMC Sports Network. But with that being said, we're gonna get into this mock draft here, talking about the 2024 NHL entry draft, which will be airing live on Friday. I will be doing the podcast during that, so you will get my live reaction to the draft, as a lot of things can happen in this draft. I know a lot of trades will go down. So talking about my top 10, I know for a fact that the teams that I have drafting these guys in the top 10 here won't be drafting them in the top, or some of them won't be drafting in the top 10 come Friday, because I know a report came out today that the Devils are looking to trade their 10th overall pick to the Hurricanes for Marniches. I also believe that the Utah Hockey Club wants a number one defenseman, and I think that their number 6 overall pick is a prime is in prime position for to get a number one defenseman in a blockbuster trade. You also have teams like the Calgary Flames who could trade their number 9 overall pick. Maybe the Ottawa Senators can trade their number 7 overall pick. A lot of things can happen when it comes to this draft on Friday. I'm excited for all of it because I think this is one of the more insane drafts. And before we get into my mock draft, I gotta preface, this is the hardest draft in my... I've been doing this for 4 years now, that I've been, actually researching prospects, trying to get a definitive top 30 here for my personal rankings. I've done it for 4 years, and the prior 3 years I've done pretty well. This fourth year I have no clue. All of these guys are so close, and all of them are very good, very skilled players, but they're all so close, and I've never seen a draft like this. I could honestly see pretty much any pick from 2nd to 10, from 2nd to 8. Anybody could go anywhere in that range, and I'll be like, okay, that makes sense. So with all that being said, we're going to get into number 10, Cole Yzerman. Cole Yzerman was a fantastic forward for the United States Development Program this past year. He is committed to Boston University for this upcoming season. So if Macklin Celebrini, for some reason, goes back to college for next year because the Sharks don't think he's ready, I doubt he goes back to college. But if somehow he does, Cole Yzerman will play probably on Macklin Celebrini's wing. We'll get to Macklin Celebrini later. The worst kept secret of all time is the Sharks picking him at number 1 overall. So we will be talking about him come later in this segment. But Cole Yzerman, number 10 overall, 58 goals in 57 games for the United States Development Program. One of the best shots in this entire draft. A guy that, can definitely play well at the NHL level. He is the most decorated scorer in the United States National Team Development Program history, and he's probably going to be a prolific goal scorer in the NHL. His ceiling really is 40-50 goals in the NHL. His floor, why he's number 10 instead of higher in this draft, is I think he has a lower floor than a lot of guys ahead of him. But I do like Cole Yzerman a lot. 6 foot, 196, born August 2006. So he is 17 right now. Will be 18 when he plays his first NHL game, if he does play this year. Going to my number 9 overall pick after Cole Yzerman, number 10, it's Sam Dickinson, the defenseman from the London Knights of the Ontario Hockey League. Had a very good year in the OHL, having 70 points in 68 games. However, he's more up here for his two-way style than his offensive proficiency in the O. He probably was one of the better defensive forwards in the defensemen in the CHL, and he still put up 70 points. I really like his game a lot. Him and who we'll get to later here as well, Zane Perek, played very well in the OHL, their two defensemen that really set the tone for the OHL and defensemen. And this draft is rich in defensemen. Really, you have Sam Dickinson, you have Anton Silyev, you have Zane Perek, you have Z Byam, you have Artem Levshinov, you have Carter Yakimchuk, you have Adam Yurchek. All of these guys are projected to go somewhere in the top 15. So it was really hard to distinguish between all of these guys. But I have Sam Dickinson as the first of the top 10 defensemen. I believe I have 5 defensemen in my top 10, which is a very large number, but a lot of these teams need defensemen at the top. This would be Calgary here at number 9, taking Sam Dickinson. I think it's a good fit for him as well. But moving on to my number 8, here is the other defenseman from the OHL who had a better season offensively. It's Zane Perek. He was great for Saginaw Spirit of the OHL offensively. As I said, he had 96 points in 66 games, including 33 goals from the blue line. That's very fantastic. However, I have questions on his defensive game. He's 6 foot 181. He needs to put on a few pounds. He is shorter than I would like my defenseman to be in the NHL. However, I still believe that he can be a fantastic player. Sam Dickinson is 6'3", 203 in comparison, if you want to, for these two defensemen. Zane Perek can definitely produce like this at the NHL level, however. I see a little PK Subban in his game, a little bit. Not saying that he has nearly the ceiling that PK Subban had, but I do think that he can provide offensively at the NHL level very well. He is a great skater to go along with all of this. So he needs to improve his defensive game. But I have him above Sam Dickinson because of that offensive production. You think that an NHL coaching staff can really work on that defensive style for Zane Perek. And we'll see how this defenseman plays at the NHL level. I have him at 8th overall. Moving on is the third defenseman in a row. It's Anton Silyev. I have Anton Silyev above the other two defensemen. First off, because he plays in the KHL, and you know me, we talked about the last 2 weeks. I love my KHL players. They get that sense of professional hockey. The KHL is the second best league in the world, in my opinion, and I think that it really sets them up to play well in the NHL. Anton Silyev from Torpedo, I believe, of the KHL, only had 3 goals and 8 assists and 11 points in 63 games. However, it is extremely hard to score at the KHL level, and you're not drafting him for his offensive style. You want to know what you're drafting him for? He is 6'7", 207 pounds. This guy is massive. Any NHL team would love to have him on the blue line. He will definitely play well. I saw NHL comparisons with Victor Hedman, which I think you're just kind of looking at his body a little bit with that. I don't think he has the offensive style that Victor Hedman has in his game, but truly, 6'7" is massive for a defenseman, and I think Anton Silyev will prove that his frame is more than just that. I think he is also very skilled when it comes to his stick playing in the defensive zone, and I think he will lead to a lot of offense through his defense. I think Anton Silyev is a fantastic pick. I had him up to number 3 overall. I dropped him a little bit because I see that teams have cooled on him a bit. However, I do believe that Anton Silyev is a fantastic pick at 7, which it would be the Ottawa Senators, but I don't think that Ottawa would have that pick when come draft night. Tisha Ginla is my number 6 overall. Son of former NHLer Jarome Ginla. Tisha Ginla is such a skilled player. I saw reports, and I do believe I do agree with these reports. He has the highest floor of anybody in this entire draft. Yes, a higher floor than Macklin Celebrini. However, I have questions on his potential. 47 goals, 37 assists for 84 points in 64 games in the WHL for Tisha Ginla. He is the son of Jarome Ginla. That means he is so athletic, and we see it every time he steps on the ice. And he has the pedigree behind him. He has a lot of support. It takes a village for these hockey players, and that's why you see there's a lot of guys that have NHL connections in this draft. I saw on an Instagram post earlier today, I think there's like 15 guys in this first round that have NHL ties to them. Tisha Ginla is a little bit more obvious than the other ones, but 6th overall for this forward. He will be a winger. He's 6 foot 192, so he has the frame for the NHL. I think he'll be a fantastic pick at 6th overall. 5th overall, my 4th defenseman off the board here, Byam. Byam played for Denver University this past year. Had a pretty good year in the NCAA, playing in 42 games. Denver University won the NCAA championship, most in part because Byam was a fantastic defenseman. He played such a great two-way game for the Denver University this past year. 11 goals, 39 assists, 50 points in 42 games in the NCAA is fantastic. He's going to be a good defenseman. He's 6 foot 185, so needs to fill out that frame a lot more if he wants to be in the NHL. But Byam can definitely be a fantastic player. Next up, 4th overall, it's Ivan Demidov. This guy was the hardest one for me to pick. He played in the MHL this past year, but played some time in the KHL. He had 60 points in 30 games in the MHL. He did get time in the KHL where he did produce a little bit as well. But in Russia, Ivan Demidov was fantastic. Has the highest ceiling of anybody in this draft. Truly does. However, I've seen way too many reports about GMs thinking that this guy's going to fall. I've seen that a lot of guys have Montreal taking him, but I don't think that the Columbus Blue Jackets let him slip. I think the Columbus Blue Jackets buy into his potential as they did with guys like Kent Johnson, as they did with guys like Denton Mateychuk, who was a smaller guy but a fantastic offensive defenseman. They are under new management. They are, of course, the guys taking 4th overall. So I have to the Blue Jackets another winger, which worries me for the Blue Jackets. They have Kent Johnson, Cole Sillinger, of course, Johnny Gaudreau, Patrick Laine, who probably won't be on that team for much longer. But they have a host of wingers, Yegor Chinnikov, Alexander Texier, a lot of guys that kind of do the same thing. So adding Ivan Demidov, I think, would be very great for them, who has a way higher ceiling than any of those guys. But we'll see if he can live up to that potential. So 4th overall, Ivan Demidov. 3rd overall, Caden Lindstrom, another guy that was very difficult for me. I had Ivan Demidov flipped until the very last moment. Until today, I switched them around. Caden Lindstrom, I'm buying into him a little bit more. I had him probably at number 2 overall before the year. He did suffer a knee injury and only played in 32 games in the WHL season, where TJ Ginla played in 64 games, Berkeley Cannon played in 68 games in the WHL. So for Caden Lindstrom, half of a season, but in his half of a season had 27 goals and 46 points. Played fantastic. He's 6'3", 214. This center from Medicine Hat will really do something at the NHL level if his body allows him. So Caden Lindstrom, number 3rd overall. Number 2 overall, Artem Levshinov. This guy was fantastic for Michigan State. Really helped them win the Big Ten regular season this past year. I was lucky enough to watch this guy play live, as I was the writer for the Ohio State men's ice hockey team. I saw him at the Schottenstein Center twice. This guy was fantastic. He was a difference maker for Michigan State this year. Was a fantastic defensive player. A fantastic two-way guy as well. 35 points in 38 games is nothing to scoff at. For Artem Levshinov, a fantastic defenseman who deserves to go 2nd overall. I really have him kind of penned in here at 2nd overall. I think this is where the Blackhawks will go. And then we all know who's number 1 overall. It's Macklin Celebrini, Boston University standout, had 32 goals, 32 assists in 38 games, 64 points in the NCAA. Is ridiculous. 6 foot 196. What more do you want to talk about? Guy has fantastic hands. Really great puck skills. He has a fantastic floor, a fantastic ceiling. This guy will be a fantastic hockey player for many years. So that wraps up my mock draft. We went through 30 through 1, and you guys got a taste of who I believe is the best players in this draft. So that'll wrap it up for this 3rd segment, talking about my NHL mock draft. That one went a little bit long, but talking about prospects always go long for me. I love prospects. It's my favorite thing to talk about in hockey. So that'll wrap it up, that 3rd segment. When I come back from my 3rd break of the night, we will be talking about the 2024 NHL Hockey Hall of Fame, or not NHL, just the Hockey Hall of Fame inductees.